The legislature is poised to take up several bills introduced just today targeting human traffickers and their victims.
Those bills were drafted based on the recommendations of law enforcement and several agencies working to raise awareness. In a First Alert update, Jason Zimmerman highlights the support from both sides of the aisle.
In a news conference Wednesday morning, lawmakers who sit on the Assembly Speaker's Task Force for Human Trafficking presented their final report, including support for 11 bills, 8 of which have bipartisan support.
At the end of the day, we want to know that we made a difference, and we just didn't take up space here in the Capitol for 4 months.
The report comes as the committee held hearings across the state, including one at UW-Oshkosh. Those who testified include members of law enforcement and 13 nonprofit agencies who work with victims.
They described how sex trafficking includes a victim most often being controlled by drugs, alcohol, false family connections, force, fraud, and coercion, and that's followed by a world where dependency is created for housing, food, and the basic essentials. These people are truly captured.
The 11 bills being proposed include legislation to increase sex trafficking education in public K through 12 schools and specialty schools for programs like cosmetology and massage. Another bill would strengthen penalties for soliciting prostitution and provide sex addiction counseling for those convicted.
The most important thing that we need to talk about is the victims and how we need to treat them as victims, so that not only do they cooperate in our investigations that are happening, but most importantly, so they heal from the trauma that has happened to them.
A website has also been set up so you can track the progress of these bills and read the entire final report on the recommendations of this task force. We have a link on our website, WBAY.com. Reporting in Grand Chute, Jason Zimmerman, Action 2 News.